All right, welcome back. So, my last episode, I was talking for just a little bit about this notion of painting white on white. Um, this is all underpainting, and at first glance, anyone would say, yeah, it's a white dress. Of course, it's not really white. Even the stroke, so now I'm looking at the photograph, even the strokes that I'm putting on now are not pure titanium white because I've added just a little bit of yellow ochre. Um, I forget his name all of a sudden. One of my mentors on online on YouTube had a great description a little while ago. Um, the we usually want our whites in our paintings to be warm, not cold. Usually, a couple possible exceptions to that. One is some fabrics, by the way, like this man's shirt in particular. I'm not sure about the dress, but the man's shirt are actually laundered with laundry detergent that actually causes them to fluoresce in the ultraviolet range. In other words, one of the ways for years that we in the West have figured out to make our clothes look whiter is that they literally do glow, especially under ultraviolet light, like the sun. So anyway, and that's a very cool white. Strangely, one of the ways that I know this is simply because I'm an artist, and if you take a dab, I mean, most of you wouldn't normally do this, but if you take a dab of pure titanium white, oil paint, say, and put it on your white shirt, the dab of white, titanium white, will be darker than the shirt, especially, well, during daylight, if you have sunlight coming in through a window. At night, under incandescent lighting, it'll look perfectly white. But in the daytime, if you have sun coming through the window, are you with me? You're standing in a room, lots of sun coming through the window, and you put white titanium on your white shirt, it will appear warm, brown, and dark compared to the rest of the shirt. Why is that? Because the shirt is actually glowing or fluorescing because of the laundry detergent with a faint ultraviolet or bluish hue. So anyway, there may be a time when if you're doing a close-up of a shirt, when you may actually want to reflect that if the person is outdoors, when you may want to indicate that coolness. The only other time I can think of that you would want to use pure titanium white on a painting is if, in fact, you're imitating not daylight, but LED lights, like street lights, and car headlights now are often LEDs, so that, and they have a definite blue cast to them. Other than that, all the whites you would want to do are almost always warmed, which as I have done here. So this white has a very, very, very pale yellow cast to it. So pale that your eye can't tell the difference, can hardly tell the difference, unless I were to put down a dab of, whoa, I don't want that big pile of paint right near the edge of that. No. I do want some texture in here, by the way. Simply because I can get away with it and people like it. Even though her dress, that part of her dress is very smooth, there's some embroidery, I don't know what to call it. I'm not at all a fabric person, but there's some, fancy knitting stuff going on right in this one band. I'm not an expert at wedding dresses, even though I paint a lot of them. I suspect that most of the wedding dresses that I paint are pretty expensive. I say that because most of the weddings that I paint are pretty high end. Otherwise, they're not hiring me. If it's not a high end wedding, they're not hiring me. Here's something I need to do. I'm going to soften up the edge of this just a little bit. Why? Because I want this white dress to look as though it's almost glowing. So if I have a razor sharp edge down here, which is sort of the immature temptation. Immature artists make sharp edges. And that may be a gross over generalization, but sorry, it's a gross overgeneralization that's true. I don't know how else to say that. While I'm at it, I'm going to fuzz up the top of this just a little bit, even though in reality it's not really fuzzed at all, it's quite sharp. But if I make it sharp, it will look, it won't look real. You can ask me, how long did it take you to learn that? I will tell you, I should have learned it decades before I did. The magic of soft edges. Okay, now, this is the lightest, brightest, whitest part of the dress up here. And as we go down, it gets little by little less pure white. And a little bit more textured fabric too. Again, I can't tell exactly what's going on in this fabric, but I don't need to tell what's going on exactly. I just need to look at it and give the general impression of what I'm seeing. And that's not too hard to do. It gets very lacy. Not lacy is not the word. Billowy. Anyway, layers of stuff. Forgive me. I'm just so not into what the names of fabric. So I'm sure I'm not using the right words at all. I'm sure. There's a real sweet thing happening over here, where there's some secondary light hitting the girl's dress. I shouldn't call her a girl, should I? But you know, if she's younger than my children, she tends to go in the category of girl in my mind. Sorry. Anyway, this bride's dress, has some secondary light hitting it back here, which is a nice effect, and especially we have just a tiny bit of an edge of a thigh, her thigh, right there, which underneath all this billowy white stuff is just a nice, hey Seth, hey, Papa's home, yay, is a nice touch to have that little tiny bit of anatomy right there, so it doesn't just look like an amorphous, billows of white satin or whatever it is. Taffeta. I know the name. I know the word taffeta. I have no idea if this is taffeta or not. No idea. I don't know what taffeta is. I could look it up and then I'd remember for 2 minutes. We remember the stuff we want to remember, really, don't we? To a large extent. And frankly, I don't care about not knowing the names of fabrics. I'm not looking for a job in that area. So, because I'm positive that I used to know what taffeta was. Because I have bought quite a bit of fabric. For a guy, I bought a lot of fabric. Because I've done a lot of weird artsy stuff with fabrics over the years. Set design, for costume building. You don't have to know the names of fabrics to build costumes. You just go into the store and say, I want some of that. You mean the tulle? I don't know what it's called. Whatever that is, that's what I want. Oh, and I do know what tulle is, by the way, because I heard it used in a sentence just this past week. Okay, so I'm just about done with that girl's dress. Wasn't that nice? No muss, no fuss. Easy. And while I've got the white going, let's do the guy's tux. I don't know. Can you see that very well? Yeah, you can. Let me zoom in and see if you can see it even better. Whoa. So you see the little interplay of values? You're not seeing it straight on, of course, and it looks better in real life, but I'll trust that you understand that. All art looks better in real life. And let's look at the guy's tux. shirt. It's very nearly finished. I just want to do just a couple tiny highlights. I'm going to do some tiny touch-ups on their faces. Tiny, and I don't even want you to watch when I do that, because I just, first of all, I don't think you'll be able to see the changes. They'll be minor enough. So once again, layers of paint is almost always the way to go. In my world, that is the way to go. How do you achieve the feel of white fabric? The answer is layers. And only the very last layer is really white. Everything underneath that is various shades of not white. Like I said, I've got lavender going on in the bride's dress down there. I've got almost a mustard yellow happening in bits of her dress and his shirt. Whoops, I just picked up some dirt there. Picked up some paint off his tux that is still dry, to see how much I can wipe off with a dry brush. And then, so how to fix mistakes, right? So this is a brush full of clean paint. I'm actually going to use some of that mistake to give a little edge to his shirt. Okay, I'm afraid that what I'm doing now is so tiny that I'm probably boring most of you to tears. Let's do a little bit on the flower. Okay, here, I'll zoom in on the flower, and then we'll finish this episode. Come on. There. Okay, hang on. Okay, close enough. Woo! Little tiny bit of highlights. Yeah. Oh, I know. Let's do just a tiny bit of a palette knife on the stem of his boutonniere. Nope, too much. That's okay. Now that I've scratched it, it's okay. There we go. Okay. A little, just tiny bit of texture there. I think that's good enough. I'm going to zoom back out. Let you see this front on just for a second. And I think my white dress, I think my white dress is finished. Looks like a bright, you know what, this area in here, I did a little bit too much dark. It's a little bit too dark. I will whiten that up a little bit. And then I'll start working on the background. Thanks for watching. Hope that's fun and informative. I'll be back probably in a little bit tonight.